Alright, so far now we've already implemented how to add a task, right? And delete a task, edit a task, and also clear all tasks. But we are left with one functionality, which is search a task, and it's also very important. So now, how are we going to implement that? Of course, I am going to do it the way I did the rest. I'm going to write the steps. So the first thing we're going to do is that we are going to add an event listener. We are going to add the event listener. Of course, we're going to add the event listener on the search input. This search input. What type of event listener then? Of course, there are different types of event listener. We're going to add a key up. So we say you add what? Add a key up event, right? Event, right? On the search input field, right? So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how there are different types of events. Of course, we have the key up, we have the key down. As I earlier on told you, we have the mouse hover, mouse over, we have mouse in, and so on and so forth. We have click. So the first thing we're going to do is to add a key up event on the search input field, right? So when that is done, the next thing to do is we're going to, of course, prevent the default as we used to do. Then we're going to get the value from the search input. So we're going to get the value from search input. So say get the value from the search input. And after getting that value, there's something we need to do. So after getting the input, we're going to turn the string to a lowercase. That is, whether the user use capital letter here, or we say uppercase, right? Or some lowercase, we don't care. All we want is to search that text, whether capital letter or small. We say turn the value, right? The input, the search value, or say search value or text to lowercase, right? Then the next thing to do after that is we are going to get the entire task, that is all the li. Remember that each of the tasks is an li, this new li, and we've already given it a class name. Let me see. Yeah, the class name of task. So each of these li is a task, which is an li, as I said. So in this case, we're going to get all the tasks. You can just say get all the li, get all the li or task. Remember that each of the li or each of the tasks has an input field where we append each of the tasks into that field or input, and there are two buttons, the edit buttons and the delete buttons. So if you're getting the li, you're getting these three things at the same time. So the next thing is, since this li might not be one, might be more than one, so we're going to loop through them so that we can get each of the li. So loop through the array, right, or the task, the li or tasks. That's the next thing to do. After looping through them, what are we going to do? Of course, we remember I said whenever you get this li, each of the li is having sub-children. That is the input field, which contains the text inside, the edit button and the delete button. Let me show you what we're talking about. So sync. So let me, if I open it here, it's elements. Let me close this. So let me open this element. Good. So now here is it. this is a task li, right? You can see that it's having 3 children in it. That's the input field, the button, edit and delete button. So that's what we're saying. So we will look through the li. After getting the task, the next thing to do is actually from this li or from this task, we're going to get the child. Remember that we are looking for the task inside, right? Our main target is this input, so that we can get the text. We want to see if this text here is the same with what you are writing inside this input search. So we are not getting on the input, but we are getting the li. After getting the li, since it's a parent, it is very easy for us to target the child, which has what the type text. And remember, we've given a class name of what disabled task, right? So we want to get that specific disabled task so that we can get the value, and we'll be able to compare the value and the text you're entering inside the search input. So the next thing is to get or to target the child, of each looped li, right? Of type input or class of disabled task. So remember, we've already given it a name here, a class rather. Good, see there, class name of. So each of that input field is having a class of disabled task. So we're going to use that. So class of disabled task, right? Then after that, then the next thing here is to get the value. The next thing is to get the value of this disabled input that we've targeted here. So say get the value of the input or value of disabled task, right? Then after doing that, we're going to turn that specific text into lowercase so that it's going to rhyme with this. JavaScript is case sensitive. If you give it a capital letter, it's different from the small letter, right? So we have to turn it into a lowercase so that it will match with this. Remember, we're trying to look for something that looks the same, right? So we said the next thing under this, we're going to turn the value or text into lower case. So that's what we're going to do. Then after doing that, next thing to do is actually we're going to check. Remember, you're typing something inside this input field. As you're typing, you're typing here, you would like to be checking. Let me say dance here. It's throwing an error. Let me not here, dance, sing. So as you're typing here, all what you're trying to do is to compare. You're trying to search if what you're writing is matching what is inside this input field. So that's what you're going to do. So in this case now, we're going to search if the search word is in the word is actually in that looped array. And remember that the looped array or the looped tags contain an input, and the input contains a value. So we're going to check if it is actually existing, and there's a way we will check using JavaScript. I'm going to show you. So check if the search word, right? The search word is in the task above, in the looped input field. So that's what we're going to do. So after checking now, of course, the last step is if we check it and it is actually existing, we're going to display it block. If it's not existing, we'll display it or display it none. So that's what we're going to do. So if you follow this step, of course, just to make things easy for us. So we say the first thing to do is to add a key up event listener on the search input field. So we've already targeted the search input field up here, and we've already declared input search. So input search, we're going to add an event listener here, and the type of event is key up. You may ask, why are we not using a get element by ID? After getting it, then we'll get the input there. But remember, all what we want to do is, so whenever you type in here, we want it immediately to be firing up and be checking. But if you just say input.value, that input field.value only, you want to get the value, remember that one doesn't take account whenever an alphabet is written, right? But this one, whenever you type one, you type another one, as you are typing singly, is firing that function continuously. So let's see it in action. So we're going to say target the input search dot add event listener. So if I just I remember I told you that there are different types of events. So see it, we have mouse out, mouse over, mouse up, paste, pause, this pause. Of course, we're going to create a music player in our subsequent videos, and we're going to see how to use them. Then we have playing, we have point. There are a lot of events. So, but the one we're going to use today is key up. Can you see? So this key up, whenever it happens, it will fire a callback function with an event parameter or argument. So we have this. So let me just say e.prevent default, so that we always prevent the default behavior, so that it will not refresh the browser, right? Alright, so now in this function that we have, this callback function, anything we write here, we are going to, that specific thing is going to happen whenever a key is struck. Anything that is there. If I will write console.log clg and say hello, let me say hello, this hello will only occur when you strike a key, or when key up takes place. Remember that this key up, you should know that this key up only takes place is when you press the key and release it. Can you see? So it only once you can see that hello appeared here. So but if you do not click on anything and release the key, of course that hello will not appear. So anything you write inside this function will get fired whenever a key is released. So if I click on it like this, nothing will happen, but once I release, it will say hello. Can you see? So that's key up. It doesn't matter the kind of key you use. Any key you touch, you can see any key you touch, of course, is going to fire that function. Remember that key up. So anything you write here is going to fire the function whenever a key is up. So now, after doing this, all this now will go in here. So we're going to do this. So whenever we click on a key, or whenever we release a key, what will happen? The first thing to do is we want to get the value from the search input. So of course you can get the value from search input. How? So let's give it a name. We'll just say const, let's say task text, right, is equals to, now remember we have input search, right? Input search dot what value. So that's the value of whatsoever you're writing in this. So let's see, we have task text. So here we go. So let me, and whenever I release the key, it's going to fire that function, and it's going to get me the value inside the input text search input. So let's say sing. Can you see? Play. So that's what is happening. Immediately you press and release, it gets fired. It's going to fire, and after firing, it will get what is inside the input field. No matter what is there, it's going to actually take it from there. So now let's go back to this. So after doing that, remember that we said after you get the search input, you turn it into lowercase, because we only want it in lowercase, so that whenever a user type in whatsoever alphabet, even if it is capital letter or small letter, lowercase or uppercase rather, is going to search for that task. So how we're going to just say dot to what, lower case. So we have this, we call it like this. So now if I will log this to the console, clg the task text. So let's see, if I will write in uppercase, you see, dance with me, you can see what is here is uppercase, but what is in your console is what lowercase, because it has already changed the value to lowercase. So we are done with this step. The next thing to do is to get all the li, right? And remember that all the li are having a class name of task. Can you see? All the li we create is having a class name of task. So we're going to use that task, right, to get all the li. Of course, you can get all element that has the same name using the query selector. So how are we going to do? So the next thing is, let's go to the next thing. We'll just say let's give it a name, cons. Cons. What we're going to do, we'll just say, so we'll just say task items. Task items is equals to document. We're going to want to get all of them dot query select, or just a document dot query select all. It's going to select all the li that has a class name. Remember, class name we use dot of task. Where are we getting this task from? Of course, it's from the class we've already created for each new li is task. So it's going to get all the li from the task. So if you get all the li, right, we're going to loop through all these li's. After looping through the li's, the next thing to do is to get the input, because the li is the mother of the input field that contains that text. So if I say sing now, you see this sing, the entire thing here is an li, and the li is the mother, or say the parent of the input and delete edit button. So if we get the li, we can get the child using event delegation. So let's see, we said the next thing is what, loop through the li, right? So we're going to loop them. We're going to use for loop. Of course, there is a better way of doing it, but I want to use for loop. There is for each, which is very simple syntax, so you can use it, but let's use for loop and see. Since we're going to iterate through them, let's change this index to be I, and now we'll change this array. What is our array? Our array is task items, right? So it's a task items, this task items, and here will be task items. I'll explain it. Task items. So what are we trying to do? Of course, we are starting, we are going to declare that starting from the first task, which is I equals to 0. Remember that the index starts with 0. Then we're going to be looping. As we're looping, it will be adding +1 till we reach where the task length. So if you have only 5 tasks, that means the first one, now you say, oh, there's another one, is going to add +1. The second one, you say, oh, there's another one too, you're going to add another one till when it reach task dot length, the length of that task, that's 5. You say, oh, there's no more task, so it will stop there. So now we're going to name this li task, right? You just say li task. So now we're going to get each of the li tasks from let me just say each of the li here. We have iterated through it. We are bringing out the li itself. So each of the li, you can target them here. So let me, if I log you to the console, you're going to see it. What I will do here is that, can I change this name to search text so that it will be clear. So we say search text, right, so that we will not confuse ourselves. So now if I will say CLG and set li task, let me add a here, li task. So let's go to the browser. Let me see, sing, dance, play. So remember that nothing will happen. Why? Simply because this entire function is happening inside a key up event. That means it will only show up, right? It will only loop through when we start writing something. So if I say sing, can you see it's looping through the li? If I say I again, it will loop through it. So this function get fired. Remember I told you that anything inside this will get fired whenever there is what a key up event. So that's what we are experiencing. So after doing that, remember that it's not the li we need the input field, the value of the input field in the li. If you check this li, each li is having children, and the children will have input field, and the input field is having a value, and the value here, if I hover over it, you see is play here, the value of play. So it's the value we are interested in. So but since we are using event delegation and bubbling, we are going to get the child, which is having a class name of what, disabled task. Then we'll get the input value from that task or from that input field. So in this case, we're going to say, okay, now target the child. So in this case now, everything here, of course, we have to go up. Why? Because if we will not be able to, get target this here outside. There's what we call local variable and global variable. So as it is now, this task li task is a local variable within this code block. So whatsoever you're going to do, if you want to have access to it, you have to use it here, right? You have to use it here. If you try using it outside here, it's out of the code block. You will not be able to access it. If I will try say, okay, CLG here, and I say li task, it's not going to show. You can see that the variable is still gray. It's simply telling you that you are yet to use it. So if I will check, you see li task is not defined, simply because we are trying to log what is not found. See, this is a local variable, but anything you write here, anything you write out of this code block here outside, we can access it here because it's a global variable. Anything that is here or anything that is even outside this place here, anything that is outside here is also a global variable, so we can access it just like someone in a glass house. You know, there are glass houses that outside you will not see what is going on inside the house, but the person inside will be able to see what is going on outside the house. So it's exactly the same, right? So everything here can only be accessed in this place, inside this code block, but anything outside we can access it inside the inner code block. So in this case now, everything we're going to do now will be inside, so that we can have access to the li task. So the next thing here is to target the child of each looped li of the type input, right? Or you remember they have our class name disabled task. That's the input field. So how are we going to do it? So I'm going to give it a constant name, text, there's a task text item, right? Task text item, because each is coming out from this li. So just say const task text item is equals to, remember we want to get the text from this item, right? So we just remember we have the parent, which is the li, and in our previous video or in the previous lesson, when we are adding a task, remember we said that we can get the children from the parent, just like the way we did here, right? we're able to target e.target the parent, then query selector to get the child. So that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to say we want to get is, remember that the parent is the li task, right? So we'll just say li task, right, dot get just dot query selector. Let's just use query selector, and what are you selecting from there? You're selecting a child that has a class name of disabled task. Disabled task. Remember there was a dash here. Let me check. Yeah, here you go. Disabled task. So we have it here. Let me just paste it to avoid. We have car error, so we have like this. So we've gotten, but we are looking for the value there, the value of that text or input. Let me just say scene here. So we are looking for, we've gotten the li and we've targeted the input field, but we want to get the value, right? So, and we'll turn it into what, lowercase. So we'll get the value, right? In this case, we can just, these steps we can just do them at the same time. So we're going to say dot value dot to lowercase. So we've done that. I see. So now, as it is now, we have the value here of each input text of each li is stored here, right? And remember that we have our search text here. So what are we going to do next? The next thing we said is to check if the search word is in the looped input field. So if this search word here is found here, if this here, then we're going to display it block, or else display it no. And how are we going to do that to check if it is there? Of course, we're going to use an array method called the index of. We're going to use the index of. So in using the index of, if something doesn't exist, it will throw -1. So let me use an example here. Let's say const, let's say boys is equals to John. We have Josh. We have let's say Abdul. So we have this. So if I try to find the index of Josh, of course it will exist because Josh is there. So what I will do is that let me just take them out of the code block so that we'll have nothing to do with that. So let me see. What you will do is, let's log it to the console, and we said the boys, this boy is not boy, boys dot index of what? We want to find the index of Josh. If you check it in the console, you see the index of 1. Why? Because Josh is the index of Josh. Remember that arrays start with 0, the index of 0. So Josh is number 1. But if I try finding let's say, so if I try finding the word Esther, if I try finding the word Esther, wait and see what will happen. We have -1. Why? Because Esther doesn't exist here. It's not in this array. So whenever anything that is -1, is I tell you that is not in the array. So that's the knowledge we're going to use in this case, right? We want to find out if it is not -1, if this search input, if this search text is not -1 in this. So if it is not -1, that means it exists in that li, or in that task text item. So now in this case, we're going to use that knowledge. We're going to say if what, the task text item, that's this one, task text items, right, dot index of this search text. So say search text is not equal to, so we said if it is not equal to -1, if it's not equal to -1. So if it's not equal to -1 now, of course that means it exists, but if it is equal to -1, that means it does not exist. So we have this. So in this case now, after doing this, we're going to check, okay, if it exists, what are we going to do? We're going to display it to the UI. But if it is not existing, we'll what, make it to be display none, right? If it exists now, we're going to render this one to be blocked. If not, we'll render it to be none. So if that's the case now, we're going to say, okay, if it exists, we're going to say li task dot style, right? We want to use style. If you want to target anything in CSS, dot display. If you want to target anything in CSS, you have to use style. Then that CSS property, we want it to be blocked for now, right? Else, what should happen? We say else. You can write it in another code block, or you can particularly write it at the bottom here so that you have a cleaner syntax. But there's no harm in doing it this way. So we're going to say li task dot display, or the style, sorry, dot style dot display. Now it will be what, none, if it doesn't exist, right? So we'll say none. Remember, we are basically dealing with this conditional. If it is not -1, that means it exists, then you display block. If not, display it none. So let's try it and see. Sing, dance, play. So let's try searching. Sing, can you see? If I clean it, can you see we have dance? Yeah, dance. Oh, so this one is not correct. Let's edit it. It's dance. So sorry, dance, and click here. So this is it. So very easy. Wipe everything. So the code will be in GitHub. If you want to see the code, you can go through it. This red code, it makes it so dirty. You can do well to remove it, but I just did it so that you understand it better. So with this, we'll come to the end. If you like the content, you can like or subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and see you in the next video.